get started with this video, if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It does make a massive difference and it helps us all grow together. I really appreciate you for that. Today I'm going to be talking about Monster, which is a courtroom drama or a crime drama, however you want to look at it, that was recently released on Netflix. This is a film that actually had its debut at Sundance back in 2018 and is just now making its way to Netflix. This movie was directed by Anthony Mandler, and I only know his name because I know that he's directed a bunch of music videos in the past. He's directed music videos for Rihanna, Lana Del Rey, the Jonas Brothers, a few other people I'm not even remembering right now. And this has a talented cast. You've got Kelvin Harrison Jr. as the main character in this movie. You have Jennifer Hudson, Jeffrey Wright. John David Washington shows up in this movie. Before he's the John David Washington that we know him as, he has a small role in this movie, go figure. Tim Blake Nelson, ASAP Rocky, Nas, just to name a few of the other people that also show up in this film. So what is this story about? Well, like I said, it's a courtroom drama. This is a courtroom drama that revolves around an incident that happened at a convenience store where two people broke in, masked, and tried to rob the place, and the owner of the convenience store ended up dead. So Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s character is a nice kid who lives in Harlem with his family. He is an aspiring filmmaker and photographer, but he gets dragged in and arrested. They believe he was involved in this crime. So the court case plays out where you get to see different perspectives, different arguments for and against him as they try to prosecute this kid who may or may not have had something to do with this crime. So the crux of the story is, did he do it? Did he not do it? And how does it look to the people that are prosecuting and defending him? How does it look to his friends and family? That's what we're here to find out. Obviously, this is a courtroom drama, and obviously you know that a big crux of this movie rests on the overall mystery of, did he do it or did he not do it? The movie does a pretty interesting thing where it shows you the crime, or at least shows you snippets of the crime, and then it takes you back in the past and shows you flashbacks so that they can build up the character that Kelvin Harrison Jr. is playing. I gotta say, not only do I really like this cast, but I also really like Kelvin Harrison Jr. This is a rising star. I have been so impressed with him in a number of different performances that he's put out over the last couple of years. I'm just saying, keep your eye on Kelvin Harrison Jr. That guy is going places. And a lot of the other actors and actresses in this movie are going places, or at least have been places. And I think everybody does tremendous work. If there's somebody to single out outside of Kelvin Harrison Jr., it's definitely Jeffrey Wright. Kelvin Harrison Jr. is the one that keeps this movie emotionally grounded, because a lot of it could just devolve into a procedural case about, did he do it? Did he not? What are the facts? How does it look? You know, it could just turn into your typical courtroom drama, and some aspects of it definitely play out that way. It's the emotion in his character that keeps you hooked and invested on what is going on. It's the background, it's the story of this filmmaker, this photographer. He's coming up, he's trying to get out of school so he can go to college and become a movie maker. Obviously, as somebody who loves film, who's very passionate about movies, I definitely can relate to a lot of what he goes through in this movie from an artistic standpoint, and I definitely felt myself connected to him, but a lot of it is because of the performance. I do appreciate the efficient visual style that this movie is shot with. There's something poetic about the way that they filmed the movie, from the flashbacks to the modern day stuff that's going on right now in real time. And definitely when you go in the flashbacks and you look at how his studies as a filmmaker, how they kind of influence his mindset and his thought process in the present, a lot of that is kind of cool to watch, and a lot of that is cool to see because the filmmaking stuff gives you an interesting perspective, and that's really what this movie boils down to. It's a matter of perspective. Essentially what this movie is saying is that three people can look at one thing and come away with three different takes or ideas on that one thing, and this movie is kind of trying to get to the bottom of the truth so that we can all look at it the same way. And unfortunately, that's not how life is. Life does not operate in that black and white area. There's a lot of gray involved. Felt like the movie is reasonably well paced. I did appreciate some of the soundtrack choices. There's a lot that this movie has going for it that can kind of separate it a little bit from the monotone courtroom case dramas that we've seen over and over again over the years. Now, like I said, a lot of this movie is a courtroom drama, and a lot of it does play out with the prosecution and the defense making their arguments and asking questions and stuff, and definitely some of that can get tedious. Some people might feel like it's a little bit too familiar and it's been there, done that, and it's a little bit boring in some aspects. I think I have a couple of issues with this movie. One is there is a narration that is ongoing throughout the entire film, and I appreciate the stylistic choice that the director made to have this narration there. Narration is always 50-50 with me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times it's just about the execution. Sometimes it can feel like 6 in one hand and a half dozen in another. It just depends on how they pull it off. To be honest, to me, it doesn't really add as much to the movie as they think it adds to the movie, and in fact, in some cases, kind of distracts from the overall thrust of the main story. I get the sentiment, but it's just kind of one of those things where I don't know that it really added that much to the film. There are some weird choices with some of the characters in this movie that don't really make a lot of sense to me. Some of them feel very out of left field. There's one character in particular that feels very unnecessary, and I'm not really sure why they were added to the movie and made to feel like they were important when they really weren't. How the perception of a young black person, how that can be harmful even if you come from a good situation, and how sometimes the truth can be whatever it is depending on how you look at it. It feels like a movie that doesn't follow through and doesn't really explore some of these concepts in regards to the characters in the rest of the story. Sometimes it feels like this is a movie that's stepping on its own feet a little bit too much. I can't really get into it because, you know, spoilers, and I'm not the type to give away spoilers, but I was just a little bit frustrated that even though they delivered this message and a lot of it makes sense, it feels like they could have gone further in some directions. I definitely would recommend it if you're on Netflix and you're looking for something to watch. Monster was a pretty entertaining court drama that is boosted by Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s terrific performance. I'm gonna leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. What's your favorite court-based movie of all time? Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.